Okay, this is going to be a video of a case that I was involved in 2007. It was a double shooting, double homicide. It took place at 120 East Street Road. It was Bucks Landing Apartments, apartment H13. The date was October 16, 2007. My name is John Crowley. I was employed as a police officer at the time in Warmston Township Police Department, which is in Bucks County, just outside of Philadelphia. I'm going to give you a brief overview of this job. Again, like I said, this was 2007, so it was a long time ago, but I'm going to go through this by memory only as far as the diagram of the location, the apartment itself, where the shooting took place is not to scale. The diagram of the roads is not to scale. It's just to give you a better idea. And the diagram of the apartment is memory only. I'm going to start this job off from the very beginning, where I was in headquarters, where we had just gotten off, our squad had just gotten off our shift, and we were sitting and we were just getting ready to leave. I had actually had my gun belt off. We were sitting around a table, and the call came out. First call came out at 23:54 hours, which is 11:54 p.m. Call came out. Dispatcher asked if there was any 74 units, which is our call sign 74 PD. Any 74 units available for a female shot in the head. That's exactly, if I remember correctly, that's the way the job came out. We immediately, everybody in my squad, did we hear that right? They came back over again. The supervisor, my sergeant, asked for clarification. They came back over and said, yes, they have a female shot in the head. I started to put my gun belt on. Again, we were ready to walk out the door and go home. I started towards the wall where we have keys on the board. The sergeant looked at me and told me grab a car and go down there and handle that. I went over, I grabbed keys off the board, which was 7410. All the other cars were on the street. There was already 7 units on the street. They were already on the street for better than 45 minutes. I ran across the parking lot to the rear of our lot because all of our vehicles were taken, so I had to go to the rear of the lot where the smoker cars were, the guys who smoke cigarettes. The vehicles were in the back of the lot, older vehicles. I grabbed 7410. I started out from that location. This is our headquarters, 401 Gibson Avenue. That's our headquarters. This is the apartment complex where I have to get to. It's approximately 2.5 miles. I start from this location at headquarters here. I go to the back of the lot, I get 7410. I come down to Henry Avenue. I start across Henry Avenue to York Road. I go north on York Road. As soon as I hit Street and York, this intersection, I'm going to make a right-hand turn to go down eastbound. As soon as I make this turn, coming around here, this is the first radio patrol car that I see, right here. This car, I don't know what the number was, but this vehicle was second car behind. There's a lead vehicle with the red light. I had the indicator light, which automatically turned to light green. This car here was one of our units. Wasn't responding to the job, no lights, no sirens, no nothing. I passed that vehicle. I went and jumped all the way down, in and out of the center median. I'm going eastbound at a high rate of speed. I was going probably, at that point in time, over 130 miles an hour. So I passed Street and Mearns. I passed another RPC, radio patrol car, marked unit. This unit has no lights and sirens as well. I passed that car at probably 130 miles an hour. This vehicle was stuck in traffic here, not responding to the job. I went past this unit. I get down towards Street in Jacksonville. I remember I was going 130, 135 because my car, the older vehicle that I was in, 7410, started to make all kinds of noises and all the indicator lights came on the dash. So I was still a good quarter mile away from the location. So I backed off on the gas because I realized at that point, nobody's going to the job. I'm not even working. My squad's not even working, but I'm passing cars that are on the street that are not going to the job. So I passed this vehicle. As I pass this vehicle, I start coming up the street road and Jacksonville. I get on the radio, I ask dispatcher, any further information on that job, I'll be pulling up. They come back over, they said, we got a second caller. The second caller just called and advised that there's a second person shot. I think they said they were shot in the head. So I'm right at Jacksonville and Street here. This vehicle, I look in my rear view, I see they just turned their lights on. So this one never turned lights on, this one did. So now I'm passing, so I tell radio I'm going to be pulling up on location. Location is right here. I pull into this development. I black out, I turn in this development. Now I know, all right, at least I'm there. The car didn't blow up. So I get into the location, I pull up around here, and I disembark the vehicle. I grab my tube that's in the front seat, which was over my head. I put the shotgun. I put the shotgun on the front seat. As I pull up, I'm blacked out. I get out of the vehicle. As I get out of the vehicle here, the car that I just passed pulls up into the development. As it pulls up, I'm starting to proceed to this entrance. As I get out of the vehicle, I see the car pull up. So the car pulls up. I turn and I yell to the officer, Officer Fox, who's in the vehicle. I tell Officer Fox, stay in her vehicle. I told her, stay in her vehicle, wait for everybody else to show up. Do not come into that unit. That's an order. Do not come in the unit. So I go into the H1 building by myself. I enter this door right here. All right? I enter that door and I go into the into the building, H1. So I'm going to H13. So I enter that building. Here is the diagram of the inside of the building. So this is where I would be entering from. So I'd be parking out here, I'd be walking down here, and I'd be entering through that door. I go in through this door, I do a stealth dynamic entry, like I've done hundreds of times when I used to work in the city. I enter this building here, I go down, I get on this platform, and I start walking down this step. Now, at the bottom of the steps here is the first person I see. This is later identified as Jessica Carmona. She's standing in the doorway of H13. I do a stealth dynamic entry, like I said. I get all the way down to about here. And she's still standing bladed in the doorway. She's got one foot in the doorway. She's looking to her left side, and she's looking at something in the doorway. She's got something in her hand, which I later find out is a phone. So I come up on her. Before she even knows I'm in the room, I'm right up on her. I'm feet from her. She turns and she looks and sees me and she starts to yell something. I tell her, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the effing ground. I put her down. She gets down right here in this area. I tell her, show me your hand, show me your hand, show me your waistband. She shows me her waistband, shows me her hand, she drops the phone. I said, where are the shooters? She says, and she points in the doorway, which is open, and she says, they shot my sister and they shot my boyfriend. They're inside the apartment, something to that effect. I tell her, stay there, do not move, do not move. I go into the apartment. As soon as I go right through here, which would be the fatal funnel, I enter this door, I clear to the corner. You're clearing boxes. Boxes inside boxes is easy. Well, I'll explain. I clear to this corner, so I'm clearing to the corner. I see immediately a female that's down to the left. It's a very small apartment, very small. It's an efficiency, it's very tiny. The rooms are very little, everything's very congested. There's a table here, it's almost like it is a kitchen, living room, dining room, all in one. It's very, very tiny. As soon as I enter this room, clear this corner, immediately I hear a very distinctive sound, which I've heard many, many times in the city, which is agonal respirations. I knew right away. It's a sucking sound. It's like a, and it's real loud, very, very loud. It's echoing in the room. So I know immediately I got somebody shot in the head. Just because I've had so many of these jobs. So I start my way over to her. I see her. She's on the ground. Her body's contorted. She's got some pulls to her clothing. It appears at that point in time there's some type of an altercation going on with her. But I see her. What I first see is I see the gunshot wound to her head. And she's still got these loud agonal respirations. I'm right up on her now. Now I'm training myself towards this opening because this is where the threat is. So I'm by myself. My first thing is to see what's going on with her, which is shot in the head. But also, I got a threat in the room because I don't know if there's anybody else still in there. I don't know if the gunmen are still inside the room or not. So obviously, my priority is that hallway and her because I got to watch my six because there's nobody else in the apartment with me, of course. But I got that. But anyway, I see smoke. I see a gun smoke and haze that's over top of this victim. This victim is later identified as Lisa Diaz. She's on the ground right here, lying, and there's a gunshot smoke and haze. It's fresh because you have to understand this job came out at 23:54 hours. I got on location at 23:57. Less than 3 minutes, I get on location, on scene here. So I'm in this apartment. This is all fresh. This just happened. This smoke and haze is over top of her, probably 2 to 3 feet over her body. And it goes from over her body and it goes all the way to the middle of the room. As it goes to the middle of the room, it's starting to elevate. It's starting to go a little bit higher in through the room. And it's a haze. I've seen it many, many times, especially in the projects. You see this a lot. And fresh shootings where you see people that are down in elevator shafts, in elevators or hallways, and you see it a lot in projects. You see it a lot, especially when you get on a job quickly. So this gunshot smoke and haze, you can smell the cordite, you can see the haze over top of the body, and like I said, it goes all the way through the middle of the room. Later I find out there's 4 shots that are fired, so that makes sense. Shots were fired, 4 shots were fired at her, 2 hit her. The medics later tell me that she was shot twice, not only in the head, but she was shot in the, I believe, the left shoulder. So she's still alive. She's still breathing. She's still got agonal respirations. I go past her. I walk right through the haze. It hits me right in the chest, neck level, head level. I know I walked right through it. I walk through it. I go to the beginning of this hallway. As I get to this hallway, I have 2 threats. I have 2 rooms to this side of me. I got to clear both these rooms. Never pass any threats, never pass the door, never pass open door, closed door. I have to clear these rooms. So again, I got my 6, I'm covering my 6, so I also have to peek back to make sure she's on the ground, she's still where she's at, nobody's entering the apartment, which that's what I'm doing. So I got my tube, my shotgun, I'm clearing these rooms, I clear the rooms to my left. I can see that there's something down the end, I can see a body, but obviously I'm not worried about that right now, I'm worried about these 2 threats here. So I clear these rooms, I make my way down the hall. As I'm making my way down the hall, I get up on the body. I clearly see that the individual shot in the face. He's shot in the left eye. He's got close contact wound to the face. He's got stippling to the eye, burning to the eye. It's a close contact wound means he was shot point blank in the face, 3 to 6 inches to his face. So I clearly see that. I can clearly see his legs are here, his torso's here, his head's out in the hallway, arms out in the hallways, through the doorway. As I'm walking towards him, I hit another smoke and haze. It hits me right in the chest, in the face. You can smell it, you can see it. He's backlit because there's a light on this room, it's backlit. So the hallway's dark, but it's all lit right here as it's coming through. So his body's lying in this doorway. So I walk through the smoke and haze. I get up on him. I see he's got a close contact wound to the face. So now I got to clear this room. It's pivotal for me to get in there and clear this room. So I immediately clear the corners. I get inside. I clear everything. In all these rooms, I cleared everything. I went in through all the closets, lift the beds. You don't ever look under a bed. You lift the bed up. That's just SWAT 101. So I clear this room. I come back out. Now, this individual is deceased. He's not moving. He's got a gunshot wound to the face. Was through and through. Went through his left eye, went out the back of his head, and lodged into this wall. 1 shot. So he's deceased. My priority is obviously the individuals who did the shooting have fled the location. So now I have to immediate medical intervention for this female right here. She's my priority right now. I want to get her immediate medical intervention, get her out of the location. She's got a serious head wound. She's got to be evacuated. So the whole time from here to here, I'm communicating on the radio. I'm probably the only person that's talking all the time. I'm talking from when we left headquarters all the way to where I'm inside the unit. I'm talking on the radio. I'm holding the air. I'm the one running the show. I'm command and control inside the scene. So I make my way over to here. When I get over to Lisa Diaz, I kneel down next to Lisa Diaz and I start talking to her. Now I'm on the radio. I'm already telling them I need expedite medic 122 and 113 to my location. And I'm talking to her. You got to talk to her because last thing to go is hearing. So you want to continue to talk to her. Tell her, I got help on the way. I got you. You know, I'm speaking with her. I'm telling her everything as far as I'm loud. I'm yelling in her ears. I'm like, I got you. Police are here. I got help coming. And I'm yelling in her ear. So I'm talking to her. And at this point, I really see now I got something going on. I see her body's contorted. I see pulls to her clothing. So I'm starting to think, all right, something's going on with her. Now, I was taught the basics. Homicide 101 shootings, 101 basics for officers who are on the scene. Number 1 is assume nothing. Number 2 is investigate, process everything. Number 3 is everyone goes to homicide. And when in doubt, you process it out. So when in doubt, I'm going to process it out. So now I don't know what I got. I'm not sure what I got here, but I know that through my experience in doing this and having jobs and transporting lots of people to the hospital when I was in the city and all the shootings I was on, I know I got it now. I have to protect her. Evidentiary, chain of custody, evidentiary processing, everything. It's got to be her and him. Both of these two right here. These are the 2 people that I want to make sure that I can control the scene and number 1, get medical intervention for her, but also I need to, for processing, evidentiary processing and chain of custody. Very important for her. So I then, at this point, I'm still talking to her. I'm looking at this one. I'm telling her not to move. I come out from here to this location. Still nobody's inside the apartment. I mean, minutes are going by. Nobody's in the apartment. I know this officer that I told was outside. He's still outside. Now, I told her to stay outside, so that's fine. She was a rookie. She stays outside. But the bottom line is all these other units that were coming, nobody's come to the unit at all. I don't know what's going on. So at this point in time, I get on the radio. Now, you got to remember, police communication tapes are very pivotal in this job because I'm on the radio the whole time talking. So I'm starting to get aggravated and pissed off at this point because I know now, since I've come to the job, there's 7 cars on the street, 7 cars on the street. Nobody's come to the job. No, I beat everybody there from one side of the township to the other, and I wasn't even working. And I had one of the older vehicles. How did I get there faster than everybody else? It's because nobody wanted to go. That's the bottom line. So now I'm getting perturbed and I'm pissed off. So I'm on the radio and I'm starting to tell them to expedite medics, basically where the hell are the medics at? So I'm going back and I'm looking at her, I'm telling this one to stay where she's at, and then all of a sudden, time goes by, and now they come through. They, meaning the medics, were one of the first people to come through the door. The medics come through and the cops are behind the medics. That's what I remember. So now I'm really pissed off because now the medics are coming in when the cops are coming in. So the bottom line is they come in. Now, I immediately send medics over to her. So they're working on her. As they're working on her, the other medic squad goes down and starts working on him. Now, he's deceased. Now, I'm telling the medics here what I got. I'm telling them, hey, look, I think there's an altercation. I'm not sure what I got. That's exactly what I said. I'm not sure what I got with her, but I need to get an officer to go with you, so don't go anywhere until I get somebody to go with you for chain of custody. So I'm telling these guys, don't throw anything out. Don't do anything with any of the stuff that she's got. She is pivotal as far as the crime scene. She's part of the crime scene. Once she leaves, the crime scene is leaving. So I have responsibilities I need to take care of. So I have to go down here to these medics because these guys have pulled this guy out and they want to take him to the hospital. That ain't happening. So I go down and I tell them, no, he's staying. Leave him there. He's deceased. You get up and start treating Jessica, who has a minor injury to her knee. I'll get into that in a second. So I tell them, leave him where he's at and go to her. So they do. They leave him, and they go to her. So now I don't have to worry about them messing with him anymore. They've already checked him. They've done what they need to do. And they have altered him. They did move him around. But the bottom line was, I got them away from him. He's part of the crime scene. He ain't going anywhere. He's deceased. Unfortunately, he's dead, so he's not leaving. And the coroner's the one who clears the bodies. So he's staying. So this is just 101. Police work 101. So I get the medics to go and take care of her. So they're outside with her, and they're dealing with her. Now, this is pivotal because when this case went to court, I was never involved in any of this case. I was taken off immediately. But anyway, this girl, Jessica, she was a suspect automatically. When I come into this room, everybody's a suspect. Everybody. I assume nothing. So she's a suspect automatically. She had a minor injury to her right knee. It was a scratch on her knee. Literally a scratch on her knee. When I tell you it was a scratch on her knee, it was a scratch on her knee. And I'll get to that in a minute, what the doctor says about that. But she has a scratch on her knee. I got 2 people executed, 2 close contact wounds to the head. All right? I got her with a scratch on her knee. So now, not only is she a suspect at this point, but she's getting more and more a suspect at this point because of her scratch on her knee. I've had jobs just like this before. I've had jobs just like this. So anyway, I have the medics out here treating her, talking to her. So I'm dealing with Lisa Diaz. That's pivotal for me because I know he's not leaving, so I got her. So I have, I think it was Officer Verderami. We get Officer Verderami to go with her. So she leaves the location. So I can hear officers out here talking with Jessica. She's actually sitting right here. Because I come out and I can see her sitting here. And they're talking to her. The medics are putting a Band-Aid on her knee, whatever. And they're around her and they're talking to her. And they're asking her, you know, who did this? She's saying, I don't know. I hear it several times. I'm yelling out to them, get the flash, get the flash. So I'm yelling, I come all the way over here and I'm telling them, what are you doing messing around with her? Stop effing around with her and get the flash out. These guys are still in the area. They're still in the development. She starts complaining about her knee. She isn't helping anybody. And she's telling them I don't know. So I come over here. We're packaging her up. We're going to take her. They're going to take her to the hospital. So I asked them where they're going to take her. They said they're going to Abington Hospital. That's another issue. They're going to take her to Abington. I tell them, why are you taking her to Abington? She's got a head wound. She's got to go to a trauma 1 unit. She should have went to Einstein, whatever. They tell me she's got to go to Abington. I don't know why you would go to a step-down unit for a head wound, but they can't help her. But anyway, they get ready. They take her out. So this is pivotal. I've done this before. She is going to leave. It's exactly what I want. So I have Officer Verderami, I have myself, I have the medics taking her out. She's here on this step in this area. Now I know she's a suspect in the job. She's got a scratch on her knee and she's being basically uncooperative and she's stalling. At this point she's stalling. She's not helping us. I've seen this many times. So she's stalling. She knows these guys are in the area because I'm telling them that she's in the area and she can hear me. So I make sure that her half-sister, Lisa Diaz, goes right past her. So they move her out of the way, and Lisa Diaz goes right past her, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to go past her because she's still alive and she's still breathing. She's still got agonal respirations. They're still out. One thing I can tell you about agonal respirations, every job that I've ever been on and anybody I've ever transported that had agonal respirations, a head wound like that, automatically, within minutes, on all the cases I've been on, it starts to slow down and then it just stops. So you have that sucking and then it slows down and then it just stops abruptly. She did that the whole time I was in here, waiting for medics and everything. It never stopped. It never got less. It was loud the whole time. So this girl was fighting. She was fighting, which helped to, as far as me processing her out, you know, when in doubt, process it out. She's involved in an altercation. That's what I believe, at least at the time. When she's still fighting and doing the things she's doing, she's still fighting. I've never had that before. I've never had a case where she'll just bottom out. But she's still doing it all the way out, all the way up. So she passes her half-sister, Jessica Carmona. So she passes her. That's exactly what I want. And I want to see what she looks like, how she acts when she passes her. That's the key. I want to see exactly what she's going to do. So I see her looking, and she's got that dumb look on her face, like I've seen before, like, oh crap, she's still alive. So she goes past her, which is perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take over talking to her. So now what I do is I tell the officers, I got this. So I tell them, I got it, I'll take care of her. So one of the first things I do is she's here, I back her up against this wall. So I literally back her up and I'm right in her face and she backs up against this wall, she can't go any further. So now I'm right in her face and I'm telling her who did this, something to that effect. And she says, I don't know, which I know she's full of crap. So I tell her, your sister's going to make it, is exactly what I said. I said something to the effect of, your sister's going to make it, and when she makes it, she's going to tell it. Now, I've done this before. So she don't know nothing. She's seen her sister leave. She's still breathing. She's still alive. She's no doctor. She don't know anything. So the bottom line is now I got her. Once I said that, her eyes dropped, and she just looked defeated. So now I got her. So now I put the pressure on. So within minutes, now this is a summary of the event. This is not everything. I'm not going into great detail. I'm just giving you an overview. I start basically verbally attacking her. I'm going after her. I'm just letting her have it, as far as I know she's full of shit. I know it's a setup robbery because I've seen setup robberies just like this. So I tell her, I said, it's a setup robbery and you're involved. I know you're involved. I know you had something to do with this. So in me going after her like that, I tell her, if any of these guys, or the shooter or shooters, if any of my guys get hurt, you're going to get charged with that, and you're going to get charged with the murder and the shooting of your sister. You can go down by yourself, I don't care, but you're going to go down. So I'm in her face. Within seconds, she tells me exactly, makes this statement. This is exactly what she says. She says, I said, where, she said, I don't know. Here it is. She said, Jessica stated Steve and Alfonso shot them. That's the first statement she says. She says, Steve and Alfonso shot them. Then she says, Steve was arguing with Lisa. He lifted his shirt and he pulled the gun. Now, when she did that, she was reaching for her waistline. As she's telling me, she's reaching down like she's making a motion towards her waistline. And she states, Steve and Lisa were former boyfriend and girlfriend. They were arguing over money. It's very important. They were arguing over money. Jessica then states, Steve shot Lisa several times. Jessica stated she told Mendez Thomas to go get her .45 from her bedroom. Jessica then stated she grabbed her children and started to flee the apartment. Jessica then stated when she was leaving the apartment, she heard more gunshots. Jessica stated the suspects fled on foot through the south side stairwell, which would be this stairwell. And then she gave me a description of these subjects. Her first description was suspect number 1, Steve, an Hispanic male, black hair, white t-shirt, black skull cap, carrying a handgun. Her second description was Alfonso, male named Alfonso, Hispanic male, tall, thin, armed with a handgun. She further stated that Steve lived on Elmwood Avenue in Lacey Park, which is another development just below this one. She says that the suspects called her cell phone earlier that night. And so I broadcast all this information in real time. So as she's giving me this information and she's talking to me, I'm broadcasting it. So as she's speaking, I'm writing it down, and then I'm right on the radio, and I'm in real time, I'm putting it out immediately as fast as I can, because I got units out there, I got officers out there that are looking for these people. And I got people armed. I got people armed running around with guns, and that's a priority, obviously, because they're not afraid to shoot people, because I got 2 people shot, so and 1 is deceased. So that's pivotal, because that statement, I'll tell you in a minute how that comes back. That statement, that 3-paragraph statement, which is my initial summary. So, as I said, I've done these jobs before. When I came in and I see her and she's got a little scratch on her knee and all this nonsense, and she's being uncooperative, she's stalling, she's not helping us at all. I immediately, my state of mind goes back to a job that I had. I had several jobs like this, but one of the jobs that I had was when I was a rookie, few months on the job back in 1992. I was working a job in North Philly, and we got a call for a Hispanic male being robbed at 948 North 11th Street. It's projects, Cambridge projects, right outside of Richard Allen's notorious project in North Philly. We responded, me and my partner, Russ, we go there. It's a high-rise project building. We go into the building. As we go into the building, I go to the south side stairwell. He goes to the north side stairwell. That's how you do it. You don't ever take an elevator in a shooting or anything like that. Anything involved in the projects where it's a robbery or anything like that, you're not going to go up the elevators. You got to take the stairwell. So he takes the north side. I take the south side. So we're going to meet in the middle. So I go up and into the project. I go up to the south side stairwell. As I get up into the south side stairwell, I can hear a bunch of males up on the second floor. They're arguing. So again, this is I'm a new cop, only a few months on, but I've been in some things, but this is one of the big ones that right away that I get involved in. So anyway, I hear people arguing. I see a male at the top of the steps. I hear somebody running, and then I see a flash of a male at the top of the steps, and then I hear shots. Pop, 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 pop. The male gets hit in the head. He comes down the flight of steps right in front of me. So he hits the steel riser. Slam. Blood all over me. He's deceased. I step over him. I get on the radio. I call for an assist. I go up the steps, and I immediately start to chase the 2 individuals. 2 black males dressed in black that are running down the hallway. Now, you got to remember the projects in North Philly have no lights. If they have lights, they shoot them out or they break them out. So you're running in the darkness. This particular building, you run down a hallway. You go out to a catwalk. You go down the catwalk, which is fenced in. It's like a cage, and then you go back in, and then you go down the other side, which would be the north side. So I'm chasing the individual. These two males are running. They both got guns. They both just killed this kid. So I'm on the radio, and I'm on the radio calling for assist, but my partner's on the other side. So I'm trying to, obviously warn my partner we're coming his way. So these individuals go down. They go into an end apartment on the second floor. It's a party. People are outside of the apartment. They run into the apartment. I go in after them. As soon as I go in after them, all chaos, all heck breaks loose. And I literally get pushed out of the apartment back into the hallway. So I regroup with my partner, Bernard Russell. We go back into the apartment. When we go back into the apartment, we get inside. These males, we clear it. These males went out a second floor window. They hang jumped to the ground below, and they got away. So there's a female, like this job. There's a female in there who is, basically, it's her apartment on the second floor in this 948 North 11th Street job where this kid just got murdered. She's telling us again something to the effect of, I don't know nothing, whatever. So my partner, being more seasoned than me, he knows she's full of crap, so he takes her out in the hallway and he starts to get on her as far as, basically giving her the third degree. She tells us exactly what happened. What happened was it was a ruse robbery set up, just like this one, where she brought this Hispanic male into the apartment, into the party, because the gang, it was the Ram Squad, which was part of the JBM back then during the 90s with the crack era. They ran that whole entire project. So this Hispanic male allegedly was coming into that project and selling drugs. We don't know for sure if that was the case or not, but they wanted her to bring him to the party, and then they wanted her to lure him out down the hallway to the other side, the other stairwell, while they were waiting, lying in wait. And then what they did is they end up shooting and killing this kid. So she gives up that information. So, long story short, she gives up the information. We take her down to homicide. She gives a statement. I believe she testifies at the preliminary hearing. She testifies at the preliminary hearing. Weeks or a month later, I'm not sure the time frame, we get a call, same apartment building, for a baby crying. The patrol unit goes up there. The doors open. They go in the apartment. They find 3 females dead. Baby crying on the couch, female next to her was shot in the head. They go clear the room. They go into the back bedroom, in the closet. They find 2 females. The one female was our girl, the girl who was testifying and gave the statement. She was deceased along with her friend. So the 2 girls who were there were just innocent bystanders, not a part of the job. She obviously was, snitches, so she ended up deceased, so they killed her. So all 3 people were killed. That case, they inevitably got the 2 people who did it, and they did go away. And I believe they got the death penalty. I'm not sure, though. But anyway, so that was one of the jobs, my state of mind on her. It came right back to me as far as that job and how we handled that job. When I come in, I immediately assumed, I just knew, I felt like it was a setup robbery. And it ended up being a setup robbery. So this is my opinion. Now, again, I got to go back to the beginning of this, and I should emphasize that this is my opinion based upon the facts and evidence and my presence at the scene. This is my opinion on this case. I wasn't a part of this case. They took me off immediately. So I know she's involved. Jessica's a suspect. So she's got a scratch to her leg. She tells me that she has a gun in the apartment. She states that she has a gun. She says that when she tells Mendez to go get her .45 from the bedroom, now she's telling me she's got a gun. So not only is she going to be under investigation for a suspect that's possibly being involved in a shooting and this homicide at this point, but also she says she has a gun, so she has to be processed. So she has to have her hands back. So the first thing I want to do is I want to any evidentiary, anything that is with collection as far as evidentiary value on her, just like on Lisa Diaz, I want to make sure it's secured. So I'm telling the supervisor at this point, who's on a phone, I'm telling the supervisor, hey, this one's got to go back to headquarters because everybody goes back to homicide. Assume nothing, investigate, process everything. Everyone goes back to homicide. That's the basics. The basics. So you don't ever violate the basics. So she's got to go back to homicide. Well, our headquarters, homicide's a city. So she's got to go back, but she's got to have her hands back. She told me she's got a gun. I got 2 people shot. She's got to have her. So the sergeant has no idea what I'm talking about. So you got to remember, it's the suburbs. She has no idea because they only get 1 homicide every 10 years. So he's looking at me like I'm dumbfounded, like, what are you talking about? So I said, she's a suspect and she's got to have her hands bagged and she's got to be processed. Everything's at her clothes, her injuries, everything's got to be photographed, and she's got to go back to headquarters right now. for a statement. Because when I got done and got that flash, I told her I wanted everything. And she told me she would give me everything. That's what she said. So now I know she's going to go back to headquarters. She's going to give me the whole story, everything. So she's already given me a nice statement on what fits the facts and evidence in this case right now. What she's saying fits the facts and evidence in this case. So she's got to go back to headquarters homicide. So I'm ready to take her back. The sergeant who gets off the phone comes over to me and tells me that she's got to go to the hospital. So now at this point, I've already been pissed off at this whole job to begin with, but I was commanding control of it, and I was keeping pretty good control of what was going on inside the scene. At this point, I know she's got to go with me, or she's got to go back to headquarters anyway. She's got to go back. So everyone goes back to homicide. Everyone goes to homicide. So he tells me, no, she's going to the hospital. She's literally got a scratch on her knee. When I tell you it's a scratch, it's a scratch. So she's got a Band-Aid on her leg, and she's going to go to the hospital? You got to be kidding me. So I'm in like an argument with the sergeant, telling her that no, she's got to go with me. So he tells me, no, she's going. So he tells me she's going, so I'm pissed at that point. And I made a pivotal mistake. I knew she had to go back, and I made a pivotal mistake on that. I never should have let her go anywhere. I didn't know what was going on in this job, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on with this job. I didn't know exactly what was going on with 813 and all these people involved here, because I'm not privy to what's going on here. But there's obviously something going on. So I'm told that she's going to the hospital. So she goes to Abington Hospital. Now, the pivotal mistake I made was I should have took her, because if I would have took her back to headquarters, this job would have never happened. Would have never happened. Alfonso Sanchez, the kid that went and was put on death row for, 9 years, whatever it was, 10 years. Now he's still in jail. He wouldn't be in jail at this point, because Steve Miranda was the shooter, and we had the shooter identified. She gave me the shooter who was identified. It was a set-up robbery, a ruse robbery. So she goes to the hospital. I go and I clear here. I'm talking. I go back in to this room, and I start talking to the crime scene people. Now, I'm angry about her leaving, going to the hospital. I knew I should have never let that happen. But the supervisor was carrying on, so I placated and let him take it. So I go in here and I start talking to crime scene. And I'm telling the crime scene officers, number one, I don't know what I got. I'm not sure. But when in doubt, I'm going to process it out. So I'm telling them, I think she was involved in some type of altercation, some type of fight, something. I'm not sure. And I'm explaining to them, she's got pulls of her clothing, her body was contorted, she's got the loud agony respirations, it just seems like there's something going on here. So I'm telling them, hey, you got to process this. You got to make sure that you just process everything. So I'm advising that, and I'm telling them that. So, and it comes back later, because it's testified to in the 2008 trial. So I'm telling them this. And I go down here and I start telling them about what's going on down here. I remember they were checking for fingerprints on the door. So I came down here and I'm telling them, I said, look, make sure you process everything here, the door frame, the wall, everything, because what I believe, this is my opinion, what I believe is that, and it comes out later, that Mendez Thomas had been in this area at a table. He was around Steve Miranda and Alex Martinez, who was not named that night, but was named the next day, or I think it was the next day. Anyway, he's at this table, and I'll talk about that. They're in a drug transaction here. He then backs up. He takes 3 steps back away from this table, and then he takes off down this hallway. When he runs down this hallway, he's going for that gun, because she said, well, we know that Jessica's saying that she said, go get my .45, but Alex Martinez makes a statement also that says that Lisa Diaz said, go get the gun too. So it could have possibly been both of them that said, go get the gun. So he runs down here to go get the gun. So he runs in here, he goes in the second bedroom, and he goes to get his weapon. As he goes in here to get this gun, as we find out later, Steve Miranda, who has the weapon, who lifted his shirt, pulls a gun. That's why he backed away from the table and takes off running. As he goes down here, Steve Miranda follows him. But Steve Miranda's smart. Steve Miranda knows, number one, he's unarmed. I'll get to that in a minute. He knows he's unarmed. That goes to the timeline. He knows he's unarmed. He knows he's going for a gun because he knows there's a gun in the apartment. He goes into this apartment. Mendez Thomas, as he goes into this apartment and goes to look for his gun, he can't find his gun. This is my opinion. He goes in here he's trying to find his gun, whether it be in a nightstand, whether it be under the mattress, wherever. He can't find the weapon, the gun's not there. So now he's panicking because there's only one entrance and exit of this efficiency. It's below ground. There's no other exits. He has to come back through this doorway, go down this hallway to get out. So this kid back here is panicking. He's unarmed, and he's got this kid who's got a gun, who's got a problem with him, who's had a beef with him before, and now he's got a gun, and now he believes his life is in danger, obviously. So now Steve Miranda comes down this hallway. Steve Miranda, obviously the shot is taken right here, right in this area. Now, Mendez Thomas is going into this apartment. Mendez Thomas knows that Steve Miranda has chased him down this hallway. He's not just going to come out in this hallway knowing that there's an individual that's chasing him with a gun. So what's he do? This is my opinion. He peeks out into the hallway. So, can you see me here on the camera? All right. So here's the doorway. Like, here's the doorway. So on the other side of the doorway would be the hallway. He comes to the doorway, and this is what I believe he did. Is I believe he places his hand on the wall or something to that effect, and he peeks out in the hallway. Because what's he going to do? He's going to limit his body, limit his presence into the hallway because he doesn't know where this person's at with a gun. So he's going to take his head and he's going to peek out. It only makes sense. He's going to peek out. He's not just going to step out. He knows the guy's got a gun and coming after him. So he peeks out in the hallway. As he peeks out in the hallway, he takes a shot to the left eye. So he peeks out. As soon as he enters the hallway, he's being backlit from the light that's in the room. The hallway's dark. This is all dark. He peeks out here. Steve Miranda is standing right here. Steve Miranda fires one shot. So as soon as he peeks out, he catches the corner of his left eye, fires around 3 inches, 6 inches from his face, goes through his left eye, and lodges in the back wall here, immediately killing Mendez Thomas, who falls right here. The crime scene, the body, where the shell casing is, there's an FCC, which is a fired cartridge casing, which is right here in this area, right along the wall. The smoke, the body, the shot was fired right here. Not here, not out here, not at the grassy knoll. It's not anywhere here, like they testify to later. It's right here. The shot is fired right here. So, as I said, Mendez Thomas, I believe, peeks out. As he peeks out, he's not going to enter the hallway with a guy with a gun. He gets shot in the left eye. He falls. He's dead immediately. He falls. Now, Steve Miranda is going to come back down this hallway. Now, Lisa Diaz is in this area here. Now we know Steve Miranda has got a gun. Steve Miranda, this is my opinion. Something happens right here. Now, Lisa Diaz already had problems with Steve Miranda and Alex Martinez prior to this. So she was already threatened multiple times, and that was in the PCRA, the Post-Conviction Relief Act, where they had already pulled guns on her. They had already threatened her prior to her being shot and killed. They come up into this area here, meaning Steve Miranda comes up into this area here. Now, we know that Alfonso Sanchez was in this area because they testified to it, that he was against the wall in this area here. And that Alex Martinez was at the table when they initially were doing the drug deal, and he takes 3 steps back and takes off. Now, when Steve Miranda comes up into this room, you have Lisa Diaz and you have Jessica Carmona. Now, this is a setup. So, he's a target and she's a target. So, he's coming and he's going to kill her. She knows she's going to get shot and she knows she's probably going to die. So, what she does, she gets in some type of altercation or fight here. She's not going to go down without a fight. So, 4 shots are fired. 4 shots are fired, 2 miss. That's the smoke that's all in this area. 1 hits her in the shoulder, and she goes down. So now she goes down. Now she's still fighting, and then he shoots her in the back of the head. Like the coward he is, he shoots her in the back of the head. So now she's over in this area here. So all the smoke, everything, it's all consistent with her injuries and the altercation, and this whole area being the place where the altercation or fight took place, whatever you want to call it. So my thing is what was Jessica doing the whole time she was here? Because Jessica knows what's going to happen. Because I'm going to explain to you that I'm not involved in this job after this point, when I'm here, when I'm initially on scene. after I talked to Mr. Saucerman, who's a neighbor, and I'm going to do a canvass of the area, I talked to Mr. Saucerman right away because he says he's the one who called. He's the first guy who called. Jessica didn't call. She was the second person to call. She didn't immediately call. So Mr. Saucerman calls first. So that's the first call that goes out at 23:54 hours. So I talked to Mr. Saucerman. After I get done talking to Mr. Saucerman, the sergeant, same sergeant that sent her to the hospital, comes over to me and tells me that I need to report back to headquarters immediately. So I said, "Are you sure?" He says, "Yeah, you got to report back to headquarters immediately." So I go back to headquarters. So now I've left the scene and I go back to headquarters. Now, I'll get into all that where I get in trouble and all that. But this is where it gets. This is what solidifies my setup, and what timeline is everything. What you're going to have is it organized? Is this murder and shooting organized? Absolutely. It's absolutely organized. This was a setup from day one. This was a setup that was prior. This was set up way prior to this event. This just didn't happen. This was set up that night, and something went down, and they were going there to kill her and probably kill him. Or if they could get him, they were going to get him too, but they were going for her. So, you got corpus delicti, which is the body of the crime. It all fits. The body of the crime, her first statement, everything fits here. Facts and evidence. Facts and evidence. That's all you care about. So, you have the on-scene statement, and then you have the timeline. Timeline's pivotal here. Pivotal. Because in a statement, she says, Jessica Carmona is you got to remember, she is not that bright. She clearly, a little bit of pressure for me, she gave up what was going on and gave up pivotal information at the scene and gave up the shooter. But in a statement later that night when she goes to the hospital, remember they take her to the hospital. Nobody interviews her right away. Nobody processes her. Nothing. And I'll get to what I did when I went back to headquarters. But she doesn't get processed. She doesn't do anything. She gives a statement hours later, 12 hours, 10 hours later, to detectives and Officer Roderami, I believe. And in her statement, she states, she gives a total different account of what happened from what she told me. Now she's pointing everything at Alfonso Sanchez. She says that she related that there was a direct connect call to Mendez Thomas, her boyfriend, and it was received by Steve Miranda at 11:51 p.m. 11:51. What she probably did, she probably went into her phone, I don't know, but she came up with 11:51. She didn't say almost 12, 11:30, around 11, around 12. No, she says 11:51. So clearly she looked at her phone. She said, "Oh, that's when Steve called. Steve called at 11:51." So the dummy writes it in her statement. So then, perfect timeline. You got 23:51, which is 11:51, right? You got the first call that goes out at 23:54 hours, okay? And then you got me that gets there at 23:57. Well, the pivotal key is right here, which is 23:51 to 23:54, all right? So you have 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes of when they left, and I'll tell you exactly where they went. They left and they went across the hallway. She had several things she had to do, Jessica Carmona. And again, this is a brief overview of what's going on. I can't explain everything in detail, but she had, I believe, 2 things that she needed to do. One of it was that she needed to get her boyfriend, Mendez Thomas, and Lisa Diaz in this location at a certain time, which she does. She calls her sister, Lisa Diaz, tells Lisa Diaz to come over and babysit. This is what she says. She's babysitting, right? She comes over. She's supposed to babysit. She comes over. Well, in the toxicology reports, both of these victims, Lisa Diaz and Mendez Thomas, are both under all kinds of narcotics. Lisa Diaz had lidocaine. She had multiple narcotics in her system. I can get to that. I'll pull the report on that. But she had lidocaine, alcohol. She had cocaine, and the coroner said that she would have been visibly impaired. She's babysitting. Remember, she's babysitting. She's got all these drugs in her system. Also, Mendez Thomas had narcotics in his system as well. He had, if I'm not mistaken, he had drugs in his system as well. No alcohol, just drugs. He had Xanax and PCP. He had Xanax and PCP in his system. So both these people are highly impaired. So her story in her statement is that she was here to babysit, which is both BS. She's not babysitting nothing. The girl's high as hell. She's brought here to be set up to be shot. Her boyfriend is then lured across the hallway because what she needs to do is she needs to get the girlfriend or her sister here, and she needs to get her boyfriend out of the apartment. So what she does is she, in her statement, testifies in court that she takes her boyfriend, who is highly is high on narcotics, illegal narcotics, takes him across the hallway to a friend's house. This guy Cash, whatever, it's literally across the hall. She takes a couple steps and goes across the hallway. She testifies to this. So she takes him across the hall. Well, it's perfect because she gets him out of the apartment, which is what she was supposed to do. And she got her half-sister to the apartment, right, under this ruse that she was going to babysit. She ain't babysitting nobody. So you have Steve Miranda, Alex Martinez, and then you have Alfonso Sanchez, who come to this location. Well, what's interesting is when they testify in court, now they put everything on Alfonso Sanchez. Sanchez is the shooter. Sanchez is the one who did it. When he got in the apartment, he went crazy. He just shoots everybody. Well, the timeline says different. Timeline totally different thing. So when Sanchez gets involved in his job, he meets up with Steve Miranda and Alex Martinez earlier in the day. They ask him if he could give them a few rides. He says yes, and he says, well, what are you going to give me? I believe that Steve Miranda was his cousin. I don't know that for sure, but he says, yeah, sure, I'll give you weed. You drive me around and give you weed. So they make a few stops. They go over to this other guy, Michael Thompson's house, which he says some very interesting stuff about what Steve Miranda says at his house, about him having a problem with the girl and taking care of her, shows a gun, all this stuff. So and none of this stuff comes out in court. So when he tells him that he wants him to drive him over here to Bucks Landing Apartments, he tells him that when he gets here, he's going to get weed for him. So he says, okay, so I'll take you over. So Alfonso Sanchez drives him over here. Well, this is the apartment complex right here. So this is pivotal because this is the 7-Eleven store. So the 7-Eleven store, all three of them, Steve, Alex, and Alfonso, go to the 7-Eleven store. Now, Steve and Alex stay in the car. Alfonso goes into the store, Sanchez, and buys blunts so they can smoke weed. So he buys blunts at the 7-Eleven store. Now, he's going to go out of the 7-Eleven store, and he's going to turn left and then pull into the development, right? Well, no. When he's leaving the parking lot, Steve tells him, no, don't go in through the front entrance, go around the back. So Steve, now Alex confirms this. So Steve tells him, no, go around the back side, go around the back. So Alfonso says, I don't know the back. I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, oh, I'll tell you. We're going to go down here. We're going to go through a cut through, and we're going to go up the back. We're going to walk through the park, through the field. So they park the car back here. Got to remember, it's a setup. So this whole thing's a setup. This is already orchestrated. So Alfonso doesn't know what's going on. Alfonso drives him, that's my opinion, drives him back here, and they all three of them walk through to H1 building. Why? Because they want to come up through the back. Yeah, they don't want to park the car out front. They want to go up through the back because they're going to shoot people. That's why. So they come up in here. Now they're up in the apartment. So now they obviously go into the apartment. So this is where the timeline is pivotal. Now again, I'm running through a lot of things. I'm not saying everything because it's just time constraints and there's just a lot. But you got to remember, you got 2351 is in her statement. You have the first call that goes out from Mr. Sauceman, who's a neighbor, at 23:54 hours. You got 2.5 to 3 minutes. That's perfect for my setup, meaning the timeline's perfect. They get into the apartment, all right? So they're in the apartment, meaning the three guys, which would be Steve, Alex, and Alfonso. And the only person in the apartment at that time is Lisa Diaz. Now, Lisa Diaz had a friend that came over, right, just before these guys got there, and the friend testifies and gave a statement that Lisa Diaz said, look, I don't want to be here by myself when Steve gets here. Can you stay with me? And she says, no, I got to go. I can't. So she's clearly afraid, and she's high on narcotics. So she doesn't want to be in the room by herself with this guy because she's afraid of him because they pulled guns on her in the past. So anyway, she leaves. Well, then she's by herself in the apartment. So they show up. Obviously, they get into the apartment. Well, now you have a 2.5 to 3 minute gap where you have Jessica, and you have Mendez Thomas comes back to the apartment. Well, Mendez Thomas and Jessica come back to the apartment. Mendez Thomas doesn't know that these people are in the apartment. He knew he was going to go sell drugs to Steve Miranda possibly that night, but it was not going to be in the apartment. They had already made an arrangement where it was going to be outside the apartment. He wasn't going to let him come to the apartment. So when he steps in this apartment and sees these guys in the apartment, Steve and Alex, he knows there's a problem. He knows immediately. He's high on drugs, he don't have his gun, and he knows that this guy has already got a problem with him because it's testified to in a 2008 trial that Steve had a problem with both Lisa Diaz, the ex-girlfriend, and Mendez Thomas. So Mendez Thomas comes in, and you can immediately see, I'm sure he knows there's a problem. So within a 2.5 to 3 minute time frame, now you have Alfonso Sanchez who testifies that, and also you have Jessica Carmona and you have Alex at the table with Steve, who all three of these people testify the same thing, which is that at the table, wherever the table is in this area, they're at the table, and you have Steve, you have Alex, and then you have Mendez Thomas, who's unarmed and high. Within 2.5 to 3 minutes, the gun, shirt's lifted, gun comes out, he backs up, he takes off running down here. He's dead. She's dead within 2.5 to 3 minutes. They're both shot in the head. So this is an execution. This is set up execution, point blank execution. This was a job that was meditated, organized, and this was not something where Sanchez comes in, goes crazy like they testified to, when he has no problems with Lisa Diaz because he grew up with her, and he doesn't even know Mendez Thomas. So it's just ridiculous. So the bottom line is you have three people that are involved in this job, which is Steve, Alex, and Jessica. And the timeline sets it perfectly that it's a setup, like I said. Now, I said setup robbery. Now, it even gets better because these two guys, Steve and Alex, in 2006, they pled guilty to ruse robberies in the same development. They did 2 armed ruse robberies with the Chinese delivery guy and a pizza delivery guy where they pled guilty to 2006. So their MO is ruse robbery jobs. So now it all starts to come together for me. So now I'm seeing the full picture. I'm seeing Steve, Alex, MO, ruse robberies, timeline's perfect. 2.5 to 3 minutes. I got 2 people dead. It fits perfectly. Her wanting to not to help, stall, not give any information, be uncooperative, the whole works, then gives up the information, boom, it all fits. So now I've got this thing, it's just totally wrapped up as far as my opinion. Now, getting back to headquarters, I go back to headquarters. Now, I go back and I'm sent back to headquarters. I go back to headquarters, I enter headquarters. I'm told immediately to go back to Sergeant Valcallo, who's back in the back in his office. So I don't know what it's about. So I go back to Sergeant Barrichello's office. When I get back to Sergeant Barrichello's office, he tells me shut the door. I go inside and he starts to basically ask me why I told one of his officers to stay outside of the building. And I told him, I thought he was joking at first. And I told him, I said, because your people don't want to go to the job. I said, I'm not taking a rookie. I'm not taking any of your people into the job with me. I said, I've done these jobs hundreds of times when I used to work in the city. And I'm not doing it. I'm not taking him in. I said, it was my call and scene. I'm not taking him in. And he says that I'm gonna write you up. You're gonna get written up. You violated policy. The safety of you and the other officers, all this other BS. So he's telling me this now, and I'm getting mad. I'm already angry about the whole job to begin with. So now he's telling me he's gonna write me up. So we're in the office and we're going back and forth. And I'm basically telling him that your people are cowards. Now, not everybody's a coward, but the bottom line is they don't want to go to the job. So, I'm pissed at that point. So our whole department isn't cowards. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that particular night, nobody wanted to go in that building. Nobody wanted to go in that building. So the bottom line is I'm yelling at him. He's yelling at me. Now, he's a transit cop. So I'm just like, whatever. So he was a former transit cop. So he's yelling at me, and I'm telling him that he's a coward. So now I'm yelling at him, telling him, there's a founded shooting, founded homicide, and you're sitting in headquarters while all your people that wouldn't go to the job are now down the job. You're still sitting in headquarters. Like, what are you doing? So I'm yelling at him because he's a teacher or something now or whatever. He was a teacher then. So he's sitting behind a desk, and he's getting on me, so it gets louder and louder, and it gets heated. So the lieutenant hears it. So the lieutenant comes in. So Lieutenant Donnelly comes in, and